Ethan Cole wiped the sweat from his brow as he adjusted the wrench in his hand. The sun was harsh over the metal plains of Erethus 9, a planet scarred by war. The remnants of cities lay in twisted ruins and the air carried a faint metallic tang. Most humans had long left this place after the conflicts with alien forces, but Ethan had stayed. Work paid the bills, but the isolation was something he had grown used to. He climbed the skeletal remains of a communication tower, checking the circuits for damage. Years of neglect had left the colony in rough shape and repairs were always needed. The silence of the abandoned landscape was broken only by the wind and the occasional metallic groan of shifting structures. As he leaned over to tighten a panel, a soft sound reached his ears. It wasn't the wind nor a groan of metal. It was a small, almost whispered voice calling his name. Ethan froze. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice steady but alert. The voice replied again, softer this time, almost a whisper carried by the breeze. He followed the sound carefully, navigating through twisted metal and shards of old structures. That's when he saw her. A little girl crouched beneath a broken plate of metal, her wide, glowing blue eyes staring at him. Her small hands clutched something close to her chest, and she trembled as she looked up. "Hello?" Ethan said gently, kneeling to her level. "I'm not here to hurt you." The girl didn't move, only blinked in surprise. Her skin shimmered in the sunlight, a soft blue glow like polished stones. Her features were delicate, but her eyes carried the weight of something much older than her years. Ethan noticed movement behind the plates. Another figure, slumped and injured, was lying on the ground. It was an adult female alien, her once vibrant skin now dulled by dust and cuts. Ethan's heart sank. Without hesitation, he ran over and knelt beside her. "Can you hear me?" he asked, checking the wounds. The woman's eyes flickered open, wary and cautious. She spoke in a language he didn't understand, her voice trembling. But Ethan had learned a few phrases from the old conflict logs. He repeated them slowly, clearly, hoping she would understand. "I'm human. I won't hurt you. Help is coming." Her gaze softened slightly, though her body remained tense. The little girl crawled closer, still watching Ethan carefully. Ethan tore a strip from his shirt to wrap the woman's bleeding arm. She flinched but didn't resist. He handed her water and she drank slowly, still eyeing him with suspicion. Over the next few hours, Ethan carried them back to his small outpost. It wasn't much, a few solar panels, a reinforced shelter, and enough supplies to survive a harsh day. But it was safe. The girl, who he learned was named Lyra through gestures and repeated words, followed him everywhere, holding his hand when she dared. Kaylara, the woman, sat quietly, observing everything. Her trust was cautious, earned in small doses. Ethan didn't ask why they were here or what had happened. For now, he focused on keeping them alive. Nights on Erethus 9 were cold. The twin moons reflected off the metal plains, casting a silver light over the outpost. Lyra curled up on a blanket, her small body trembling slightly. Ethan noticed her clutching a small worn toy, a tiny replica of a ship that had long since been destroyed. "You're safe here," Ethan whispered. "No one will hurt you." Lyra tilted her head, her eyes searching his face. She didn't speak much, but the trust was slowly forming in small ways. A touch of the hand, a quiet laugh when he showed her a tool he was using. She mimicked his movements and words, learning quickly. Kaylara's voice was soft when she finally spoke, in broken human words mixed with gestures. "We run from raiders. My home gone. They want us." Ethan nodded, understanding more than she realized. The war may have ended years ago, but remnants of violence and hate lingered. He promised silently to keep them safe, whatever it took. Over the next few days, he repaired the broken shuttle they had brought with them. Lyra was fascinated, climbing on spare parts, asking questions, and watching Ethan work with intense curiosity. Kaylara helped where she could, though she remained wary of every tool and movement. One evening, as Ethan finished connecting the last wires, Lyra tugged gently at his sleeve. "Please," she whispered, her small voice trembling. Ethan knelt to her level, looking into her glowing eyes. "What is it?" She hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Please marry my mom. She's all I have left." The words hit him like a jolt. He looked at Kaylara, who sat quietly nearby, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her eyes flickered with surprise and something softer, something he didn't expect. Ethan tried to speak carefully. "Lyra, That's not something simple. We come from different worlds. I'm human. You're your mother's species, marriage. It's not that easy. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. I don't want anyone else. I only have her. Kilara looked away, her hands trembling. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. She's lost everything. Maybe she wants to believe in something that won't leave. Ethan didn't know what to say. The truth was complicated. Worlds apart, species apart. But the bond forming here was undeniable. For the first time in years, he felt something more than duty. He felt connection, warmth, and responsibility. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He stared out at the plains, the ruined cities, and the distant mountains. Lyra's small words echoed in his mind. He knew she didn't fully understand the meaning of marriage, but her trust and hope had a weight he couldn't ignore. The next morning, the sun rose orange over Erethus 9. Ethan looked at the damaged shuttle, the little blue-eyed girl beside him, and Kilara watching quietly. The choice ahead wasn't simple. Leaving meant abandoning them to raiders, but staying meant bridging a gap that had never existed before. Lyra ran to him with a laugh as the morning wind swept across the plains. "Ethan," she called, holding out a small broken toy ship. "Fix it?" He smiled, the weight of the night's thoughts settling into something clearer. "Yes, I'll fix it," he said. And as he began, Kilara stepped closer, her presence quiet but steady. For the first time, the ruins of Erethus 9 felt less lonely. For the first time, Ethan wondered if this remote, scarred planet had given him more than work. Maybe it had given him a reason to stay, a reason to protect, and perhaps a reason to care. The day stretched long and hot, the wind whipping through the metal ruins. Ethan worked, Kilara assisted, and Lyra watched, learning and laughing. Small moments formed the foundation of something stronger than survival: trust. As the evening came, the twin moons rose again, and the outpost glowed softly in their light. Ethan sat outside, Lyra asleep in her small cot and Kilara standing nearby looking at the stars. "You saved us," Kilara said softly, her voice steady now. "Not just from raiders. From loneliness." Ethan shook his head. "No, we saved each other." Kilara's eyes softened. She didn't look away this time. Ethan realized that the connection forming between them was real, fragile but undeniable. Lyra had asked a simple, honest thing: to have her mother protected, to have hope. And in doing so, she had brought them together. The night passed quietly, but the weight of possibilities hung in the air. The future was uncertain. The galaxy was wide and dangerous, but here, in this small outpost on a broken planet, something new had begun. Something human. Something alien. Something in between. Ethan closed his eyes. The sound of Lyra's gentle breathing and the faint hum of the outpost machinery filling the night. Tomorrow he would start repairing the shuttle. But tonight, he allowed himself a quiet thought. Maybe, just maybe, he had found a reason to stay. And as the twin moons bathed the world in silver light, Ethan realized the truth he had avoided for too long. Protecting them wasn't just duty. It was something deeper, something worth fighting for, something worth believing in. The next morning, the air felt heavier. The twin suns of Erethus 9 rose over the horizon, painting the metal plains in gold and silver. Ethan worked quietly on the shuttle, tightening wires and checking fuel conduits. Kilara assisted, her hands steady but precise. Lyra ran around the small outpost, her laughter carrying across the plains, a fragile note of normalcy in a world that had known so much chaos. Ethan paused for a moment, watching the child play. She was small, fragile, yet so full of determination. Her trust in him and her mother's careful guidance made him feel responsible in a way he hadn't expected. He tightened a panel and wiped his hands, glancing at Kilara, who met his gaze. No words were needed. They both understood the stakes. By midday, the quiet was shattered by a distant rumble. Ethan frowned. The scanners on the outpost picked up unusual movement. A small group of human scavengers, heavily armed, moving fast toward the outpost. They had tracked the alien distress signal. Their goal was clear: capture Kilara, take the shuttle, and leave nothing behind. Ethan's heart pounded. "Kilara," he said, "they're coming." Her eyes hardened. "We can fight, but there are too many." Lyra ran to Ethan, tugging at his sleeve. "Don't let them take her," she whispered, fear clear in her voice. Ethan knelt, looking into her eyes. "I won't, I promise." The scavengers arrived faster than expected. Dust rose around their boots and their weapons glinted in the sunlight. They shouted in coarse human language, demanding Kaylara step outside. Ethan stepped forward, his hands empty but his stance firm. "They're under my protection," he said, his voice steady. "You don't take them." The leader of the scavengers laughed, a cruel, echoing sound. "A human protecting blue aliens? You've lost your mind, friend." Ethan didn't move. Kaylara stepped beside him, holding a plasma weapon she had salvaged from the wreck. Her presence was commanding, every movement precise. The scavengers hesitated, surprised by her fierceness. The first shot rang out. Ethan rolled to the side, grabbing a nearby metal pipe to block the attack. Kaylara fired her weapon, blue plasma slicing through the air and striking one of the scavengers' shields. Lyra screamed, clutching a blanket to her chest. Ethan shielded her with his body, feeling the heat of plasma sparks on his arms. He realized that this fight wasn't just for survival. It was for trust, for hope, for the fragile bonds that had formed in this isolated outpost. Kaylara moved with precision, striking from cover to cover. She had trained for war, and even after years of peace, her instincts remained sharp. Ethan watched her, awed by her strength, and fought alongside her, using his tools as weapons when he could. The fight lasted for what felt like hours, though in reality it was only minutes. The scavengers were relentless, but they had underestimated Ethan and Kaylara. When the last attacker fell, silence returned. Dust swirled around them and smoke from damaged equipment hung in the air. Ethan collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. Kaylara knelt beside him, her hands gently inspecting his arm. He had taken a burn while shielding Lyra, though nothing was life-threatening. "You risked everything," Kaylara said softly. Her eyes were filled with emotions she hadn't allowed herself to show before. Fear, relief, gratitude, and something deeper. Ethan shook his head. "I didn't think, I just couldn't let them hurt her." He nodded toward Lyra, who was trembling but unharmed. The child looked up, her eyes shining with admiration and love. "You're my hero," she whispered. That night, after cleaning wounds and repairing minor damage to the outpost, Ethan, Kaylara, and Lyra sat together. The air was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of machinery and the occasional gust of wind. Kaylara looked at Ethan, her expression gentle. "Why did you stay?" she asked quietly. "You could have left at any time." Ethan thought for a moment. "Because she asked me to," he said, nodding toward Lyra. "And because I couldn't leave you alone. You've both become important to me." Kaylara's gaze softened, her defenses lowering for the first time since they had met. She reached out, her hand brushing Ethan's. "I trust you," she whispered. Lyra, noticing the moment, giggled and clapped her hands. "You're staying forever, right?" she asked innocently. Ethan smiled, feeling the warmth of the family forming around him. "Yes, we stay together," he said. Over the next few days, they worked on the shuttle and the outpost. Ethan taught Kaylara and Lyra human techniques to strengthen the building and improve safety. Kaylara taught Ethan and Lyra about her people's ways, their history, their culture, their unique ways of solving problems. Lyra absorbed everything, asking questions endlessly, laughing and exploring. As they worked, Ethan noticed a subtle shift in Kaylara. She moved more freely, smiled more often, and even joked quietly. The bond between them was growing, not forced, but natural. Lyra's simple wish had brought them together, but it was the shared experiences, the trust, and the courage that made them more than just allies. One evening, Kaylara and Ethan watched the twin moons rise over the plains. The light reflected off the metal structures, creating a peaceful glow. Kaylara spoke softly, almost to herself. "Lyra doesn't understand what marriage means for humans. But I do, and if this is how our worlds heal, maybe this is how it begins." Ethan turned to her, meeting her gaze. "You don't have to decide now," he said gently. "But I want to be here, for both of you, no matter what comes next." Kaylara smiled faintly, a mix of relief and understanding in her eyes. She reached out and their hands met, fingers interlacing naturally. Lyra squealed with joy, running between them, hugging them both tightly. Days turned into weeks. The outpost became more than a shelter. It became a home. Survivors from nearby regions began to arrive, drawn by tales of a human protecting aliens, by the hope that coexistence was possible. Ethan, Kaylara, and Lyra welcomed them, teaching and helping, defending when needed. The small group grew, a mixture of humans and aliens learning to live together peacefully. Ethan often found himself watching Lyra sleep, or Kaylara tending to the others. He realized that the family they had formed was more than he could have imagined. The child's innocent wish had sparked something extraordinary, a bond between species, a testament to trust and compassion. One morning, as the twin suns rose, Lyra ran to Ethan, holding a repaired toy ship. "We fixed it," she shouted. Ethan laughed, lifting her in his arms. "We did, and we'll keep fixing things." Together. Kaylara joined them, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "We're stronger than we thought," she said quietly. "Not just because of survival, but because of each other." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. For the first time, he understood the meaning of home. It wasn't a place or even a structure. It was trust. It was love. It was family. The story ends with Ethan, Kaylara and Lyra standing outside the outpost, watching the twin suns shine on the plains of Erethus 9. The world was still dangerous, still uncertain, but for them, hope had returned. Lyra ran between them, laughing. The child whose wish had begun a new chapter for humans and aliens alike. In a galaxy that had known too much hate, too much fear, this small family proved that trust, compassion, and courage could build bridges between worlds. And for Ethan, Kaylara, and Lyra, the future was no longer just survival. It was life together under the twin suns of a broken planet that had finally begun to heal.